My name is John McLaren. I'm a member of St John's Parish and also of the organising committee for this conference. The first half hour or so will be dedicated to an opening set of ceremonies. It's my great pleasure to start the ball rolling on that, to ask Larry Siner, who's our priest in charge here, to say some words of welcome to you from the parish of St John.
Thank you, John, and a very warm welcome to those of you who may be visiting St John the Divine for the first time, and for those who are coming back, welcome again. I'd like for us to be aware that we are in fact meeting on the land that is traditionally part of the Coast Salish community, and would like to remember that with a good deal of respect. St John's had last year a series of lectures during Lent. One of the lecturers was Robert Morales, who is First Nations person and the chief treaty negotiator for the Hulkaminium group. And Robert was, I think, so eloquent and so passionate about the issues that he was describing and that he was facing, that a group of us at St John's decided that we would like to continue a dialogue with him over the last year. We've done that on several occasions, and Robert is going to be here tomorrow. So this, in a sense, is an outcome of those conversations. Particularly since we've been hearing more and more about Idle No More, and we have become more sensitized to the issues that are facing First Nations people in Canada. We thought it would be a good opportunity to broaden the spectrum a little bit and invite as many people from the community, from First Nations, and from our congregation as was possible, in order to sort of look more carefully and more deeply at some of the issues that we face as two nations, First Nations and those of us who came later. And so that's the background for our coming together for this conference. It's been a joy to work with the group who have done such sterling service in preparing for this conference and arranging for the speakers, and for those who are not speakers but who are presenting part of their culture to us. And it's a great joy to welcome those of you from First Nations who are here with us today. Be assured that your presence is warmly received, and we hope that we will learn from the experience in some real depth. We don't know where we're going to go with this, but we're hoping that out of this conference, more activity, more relationship building may take place. And so we're hoping very much that those of you who are interested could come and join us. There is a group here, and you notice it over the little table over there, called Aboriginal Neighbours. And that's been a group that has been very active in building relationships between First Nations and others in the community over the last many years. And I would like to thank you for doing that, and thank you for being present today. It's a great opportunity for us to become more sensitized to the issues that face First Nations. And so I welcome you all. Mavis Gilly, who's been a member of Aboriginal Neighbours for many years and is a member of this congregation of St John's and this community, is here with us and was part of the planning group.
I just wanted to say a word about the talking stick. Many of you won't have seen or know about talking sticks, which are quite an important part of First Nations organization. And this is a particularly beautiful one and means a lot to us. We had, I'll start at the beginning, I guess. In the 1980s, the churches across Canada came to realize that they really must do more about relating with First Peoples and trying to bring about a more just relationship with the First Peoples. And so they organized, right across the country, a group called Project North. And that was the forerunner of Aboriginal Neighbours and was very active throughout. There were 65 branches across Canada, which was really quite good. And many of us in Victoria belonged to the group here. We were really active. And one day I had a phone call from Jane Middleton, who was the chair of Aboriginal Neighbours at the time, and said, Mavis, I've had this crazy call from Jack, yes, over here, Thornburg, that he wants to do a run for justice right through the length of British Columbia. And I need people to get together and talk about this crazy idea of his. Can you come this afternoon for a meeting? So I said, oh sure, I'll come. So we went and we listened to Jack and his reasons. And he said, we really need to alert British Columbians to the situation of Native peoples here. I'm a long distance runner. I've practiced for a long time. And I found a young Sayut man from the Sayut Reserve here in Victoria on the Pat Bay Highway. And he's a long distance runner, and we would like to start from the most northerly point in British Columbia, which is New Hazelton, and run all the way down to Victoria. And we'd like to speak to school children and service groups and women's groups and municipal groups and so on. And so he was so convincing that we caught the enthusiasm, and we did a run for justice. And it took a lot of organizing. They started in New Hazelton, and Jack will tell the story, so I won't spoil the input there. But it was most successful, and the Native people as well were out to welcome them, and because there was this wonderful sense of being together in this wonderful province. I'd like to just tell you a little bit about Jack. He is an experienced long-distance runner, and he met Steve Underwood. Is Steve here tonight? No. Anyway, Steve is from the Sayut also, and a long-distance runner, and so he and Jack practiced every morning. They were out there running, getting ready for this wonderful run. And we in Project North were also organizing. We got buttons, Go the Distance for Aboriginal Justice. We had t-shirts, we had ball caps, we had dinners, we had all kinds of things to get this rolling, and it really did roll. They started off in New Hazelton. They worked all their way down to the area, through the towns and cities, and gave the word. And people in most places, I think there was only 1 or 2 places where you were told to get out. You were not welcome. But the other places, they were very welcomed, and the whole thing took over very well. Jim and Fran Williams from this congregation hired a van at their own expense and fixed it up for these runners. Rita Dulay, who is sitting in the front row here, is a massage expert, and she went also in order to massage the aching legs of the runners and to be a part-time driver. And it was, they spoke in the schools, they spoke to municipal councils, and so on all the way down. And finally down to Victoria, and Gretchen Bruin, our mayor, was out to greet them as they arrived here. And it was just a wonderful event. So now, after that, the Gitsan Wet'suwet'en, who were in court in the Del Demoot case, felt that the runners and the group should have some recognition, and they had carved for us by a master carver this talking stick. And when John speaks to you, he should hold the talking stick. We have the right through this to use it to speak to people with authority. It's beautifully done, and I hope you'll come up and have a look at it afterwards. So I think that's all I have to say. Better be or John won't get a chance. So thank you.
So the man who was central to the running of the race is here, Jack Thornberg.
Thank you. My running partner from the South Band is not here tonight, but his sister is. You want to stand, maybe?
Yeah, Steve looks like me.
And this Mavis mentioned another Mavis, mentioned our Mavis here, and Rena Dulay was mentioned as well, and she was our massage therapist, physiotherapist, and so I just, maybe she'd stand for a quick second. You have a long program tonight, and I won't carry on. I just wanted to let you know what a generous and gracious gift the talking stick was to us at the end of that run. Brought down by Don Ryan, hereditary chief of the Giksand, to our ceremonies and the end of the run at the legislative buildings on October 31st of 1988. And it was just an incredible finale to it, because at the Longhouse he presented it and made it clear that this was given so rarely, something like this, but it represented that his gift of the authority of the Giksand to speak for them in other forums. So that was not only a matter of trust, but a matter of immense generosity. So I hope you will take a look at it. It's a beautiful artifact. It's now housed at the University of Victoria. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Lawson, and I'm a deputy warden here at the church. I know tonight we'll be talking a lot about people, and we'll be talking a lot about land. In that spirit, I have the great pleasure to introduce to you an elder from the Saanich Nation, Sartlet Village. John Elliott will be speaking to us to really open this up and welcome you in a way that none of the rest of us can. And I'll begin that process by passing this talking stick to him and to ask him respectfully to take the stage.
Asiam Nashalacha, Tituai Nasquanis Quelpness at Contola Taquaria, Titangan, the Clickness Eat, the Shalacha, Slati, Tamukuta, Songs, it's the Pong and Plum of Pocum, and it is paper, I spell of the Saanich, Plum, which just got the Stettin at here, Tang Contola Taquaria, here. Just a few words in the language of the land and territory of this, acknowledging the Songos people, the Lebongan Nation, and the Saanich people, who am I a part of tonight, and all other nations that are here tonight to be together. I appreciate the honor of holding this talking stick tonight in front of you all. It's an important thing that we are doing to get together and do this kind of gathering, because it's truly like a prayer. It's like a prayer that's happening here, and I acknowledge and thank St. John's of the Divine Church for inviting us and gathering together the people here, the many nations tonight, the many families that are represented here tonight to speak together about the important issues of our people, of our land. The Great Spirit walked our land with our people long ago and our ancestors. And that's what our elders have told us. And it was passed down from one generation to the next. The Great Spirit came to the east side of the peninsula out in our area in Saanich long ago. And he came by canoe. He disembarked in that shore there at Stout. And on the shore where we got off there was lots of beautiful, shiny, round black stones there. And he picked up one of those stones and he threw it into the land there. And the first stone that he threw, nothing happened with that one. And he reached down and he picked up another stone, a black stone, a stone we call Condalas, and he threw it inward. And the second one grew a little mountain there. That mountain is still there. And he had a basket with him and he reached down and he grabbed a few more of those stones. And he filled the basket with those stones. And he walked up to that mountain and the people followed him there. He went to the top of that mountain facing the east that way, facing the salt water on that side, out in the straits. And he reached into the basket and he tossed out these other stones, and they became the mountains that are here still today. All of them are still here today, and that's the names that we call those mountains today. And the people that were there with him at that time, he grabbed some of them one by one and he threw them out into the straits. And as he threw them out into the straits, he changed them to be the islands that are there today. And as he tossed them out into the straits, he said, Quantatin Chelacha, Quantatin Chelacha, Quantatin Chelacha, as he tossed them out into the straits. And they landed in many different ways and places around in the straits between here and the mainland. As he said, it means look after your relatives, look after your relatives, look after your relatives. When he finished throwing those stones out into the straits, and he turned to the ones that remained there on the mountain with him, and he said, and you will look after your relatives of the deep. Our word for the islands, we call Katachis. It means relative of the deep. But that's the life that our people were living, looking after those places that law was given to us to live by. That stone that was thrown, tossed into the land that grew into those mountains that are still there today is a sacred stone to our people. Our people still hold it sacred. And many people carry a beautiful little stone like resembling that in their pocket as a prayer stone to remind us of those creation times. We have been given a sacred responsibility to look after the land, look after those bays and inlets and those sacred places. And that's what our people were doing and still trying to do today, to look after those sacred places. It was a law given to us to be that way, to interact with those islands and island places as a relative, as a relative. That's who we are. We cannot let that go. The minute we start to throw that aside, and then we lose our identity as a nation, as a people. That's who we are, the Kusanich. That mountain there is called Kusanich. From the old flood days. It was named Kusanich. Our people are called the Kusanich. They tied to that mountain 10,000 years ago on a flood that happened all over the world. And they knew that flood was coming because the leaders those days, the hero, the head man. He didn't lead the people by himself. He belonged to the people. And he worked with a lady and with a man, prayerful people. The lady was a visionary, what we call Shawa, had a vision to see. It was her sacred duty to guide the leader. And the man was a spiritual advisor, medicine man, that worked with him. And he consulted with them always. And then in her prayerful way, one day, she said, there will be a great flood to come on this land. And you must prepare yourself for that flood. So they did. They were to make a huge long rope of cedar that you will tie yourself to the mountain on when that flood comes. And I'm happy to say that my child is here tonight, Fraser Smith. That story came from your dad to the children at our school. Pass that story along. When that great flood happened, all of the mountains that I spoke about went under the water. And our people were tied to the top of that mountain on an arbutus tree, which disappeared until they could see was their rope going down. And they were there for a long time and praying to survive. Well, finally, one day, a little raven came and landed on the bow of the canoe, holding a stick in its mouth. And it was talking to them in a different kind of a way. Not just an ordinary crow sound or raven sound. And one of them said, he's trying to tell us something. As they looked at that little crow on the bow of one of the canoes, and they said, "Ní quanna tuk sanach. Ní quanna tuk sanach." Look what is emerging. And the land was beginning to emerge from that disaster, that great disaster. And they knew that they had survived that flood. And so the water went down and down. And they were able to get off their canoes. And they untied their anchor from the anchor on the arbutus tree. They thanked that arbutus tree. They said, "You helped us to survive. And now, from now on, our people will never burn you in fire." And our people still don't burn the arbutus trees in a fire. Although they use the limbs and the parts of the tree for carvings for bowls and things and tools and that, but it's not burned normally. They said, from now on, this mountain will be called Thawangoch, the place of escape, the place of refuge, and we will be the Husenich people. The Husenich, the people of the emerging land. And that's how that story of the word Saanich came to be. You hear it used all over today. Saanich. We say Husenich. The is the breath of the people that survived that flood. And I'm here to remind everyone this evening that our people have a long connection with this land and territory. I'm talking about 10,000 years ago. And the scientists say they wanted to prove that. So they went down the deepest part of the bay. They did some drilling down there to find out about what was down there. And they said there was a flood here 10,000 years ago. And some of that soil was from the mainland down here in the inlet there. Our homeland is sacred to us, like I said. We look at the islands as a relative. Our mountains are sacred because we have a belief about it. We have an oral history that brought us to that. Each part of nature, whether it's a bird that's flying, a fish that's swimming in the ocean or up the stream, we have names for it in our language that remind us of its origin, how it came to be. There's a mountain not too far from here we call Bacalls. They named it Mount Douglas now. Or people call it Bacalls because the Great Spirit tossed a stone from over there at Smockwatch, which is now Boyd Roberts, and it embedded in that mountain. It's still there. I've seen it there. That stone is still there. That's why we call it Bacalls. He threw 3 of those stones that day, and one of them came here. One of them is in White Rock. It's called White Rock over there today. It's in the shore there. Another mountain on this side, they call Skanka. They call it Mount Talmy today. On the far side, there's 2 people that were changed to stone by the Great Spirit there. They're still there. They're still there on the southeast side shore of that mountain. Because Creator changed them to be that way. There's so many stories I could tell you about. I only have so much time to talk. But I need to remind us all about the value of our homeland. I would like to sing a song about that. And it says, our high mountain places are sacred. Our rivers are sacred. Our ocean is sacred. The fishes that swim are sacred. Our homeland is sacred, respected ones. Remember that. That's what that mountain says. That's what that song will say. I can't hold the stick while I'm saying it. And you often see our people holding a drum in a circle like that. And it reminds us of skill in our way of living is what you do in life, whether it's positive or negative, will come back to you or your family in your lifetime. That's our law. The law that our people live by. Unspell, call that. And that reminds us of that. My main work in life in the last 40 years, I guess, has been trying to relearn my language. And that's what I do. My parents spoke our language to one another at home, but they didn't speak to us as children. Because my mother was in a boarding school for 11 years. And they told her, they said, don't ever teach your children to speak the language. Don't ever pass that on. It's a sad part of our Canadian history. It's a sad part of our Canadian history. If we want to build a good Canada, we should build it on a good foundation. And working together, we can do that. There's many ways that we can work together and do things right. Sometimes politics gets in the way of the things that need to be done. I know that there's a lot of good people that would like to be free of those old wrongs. It would be nice to free Canada of that old guilt. If things were done right, it wouldn't be all that difficult. We live in one of the most resource-rich countries in the world. There's no problem with dealing with our people fairly and justly and giving our people a fair chance to be a real part of this Canadian way of life. There is not one of my people that wants to be a beggar in their own homeland. They want to be fully participating in the Canadian society in an honourable way. Hi.
It's hard to find words for thanks. I am slowly learning about the importance of stories. Stories are a great treasure, and we thank you for sharing from your people's treasure. We also have, as part of our opening ceremonies, the great gift of the Standing Nation Drumming Group with us today, drawn from many nations and come to us here tonight. And they come together with Rob Spade, who has in many ways a leadership role among them, with connections to the University of Victoria, and I recognize faces around the drum. I've heard them before. And there is much to be learned from drums as well. Could I ask Rob Spade to come to the microphone, please? There is something that needs to be said about drums. And part of what needs to be said is that as part of having you here, as part of protocol from your people, I offer you tobacco for the drum.
Thank you. It's a beautiful day. With the drum, we use it to say a lot of things that we can't express with our words. Sometimes our language limits what we really mean. And with the song, it represents the feeling that we have as human beings. The drum represents the heart of our mother. We heard our mother's heart when we were inside her. We heard her heart beating. And while we heard that rhythm, we were looked after, nurtured, and loved. And when we came out and became born, we sought that rhythm in life, that discipline, that lifestyle. And this drum represents our mother's heart, the earth, that cares for all of us, humans, and our relatives, the frogs, the sky, the earth. All these things, we use this drum to give thanks, to say thank you, to share. We're from different nations around the drum, and we use the drum to share with one another who we are in a respectful way. We received this drum 300 years ago from the Dakota people. They were south of us, and myself in the Anishinaabe. My Indian name is Gishko Nani, and my uncle tells me it means a heaven man. My clan is the Sturgeon clan, and our clan is responsible for sharing a bit of the knowledge, and sometimes being a servant. I'm proud to sing on a drum. My grandfather sang on a drum, but he had to hide in his day. He did it in his cabin in a very remote place, or in his tent, or on the side of a lake. My dad and mom, my dad lived under the stars outside, even in the wintertime. They lived around the fire. The fire is what kept them. Where I'm from, the temperature is minus 40 Celsius. It gets very cold. But, you know, the fire, it keeps us. We have a song about the fire. And in each one of us, there's a fire that burns in us. And that's why our body is warm. We're made up of the elements of our mother, the earth. When we sing this song, we're asking that fire to light up our path, so that way we know what to do. You know, we ask God, Creator, what did you make me? You made me, and I need to know what to do today with myself, what to do. And we're asking that fire to light up and show us the way that the Creator has set for each one of us. Before we start singing the song, we strike the drum 4 times, and it represents the 4 directions, all the nations of earth. It represents all our ancestors, where we are all from. And we carry those teachings in us. It represents my grandfather. People who are grandfathers and grandmothers have an authority to teach our young ones how it is to be a human. So, miigwech for hearing our songs. Songs are important. There's not a country in the world, regardless of politics or religion, belief, that does not have a national anthem for their land. Because human beings, we know that song is very important as a species. That's how we are. These songs were at one time outlawed. My grandfather was an outlaw singing these songs. But today, I'm proud to share this song with the people. And I give thanks to God and our community. Miigwech.
Hey!